Okay, this is part 2 of this lesson here. This is where we left off. This was one of our examples here. I believe it was example 4. So following along on your note sheet again, you should be taking notes on this Word document here. Okay, and moving on. So the next step here is looking at more fractions that have factors in them. And so what we're going to try to do here is look at these factors very obviously. There's a 5 that I can come out of here, right? That I can take out of there. So that's going to be 5x minus 4. On the bottom, I'm going to be able to take a 5 out of the bottom as well. So that'll be an x plus 3. So there's that. On the other side, it looks like a 2 can come out of this binomial there. So that'd be 2 times x plus 3. Hope you see that. Okay, and over here I've got an x minus 4, and notice this is meant to work out nicely because that's going to cancel that. That's going to cancel that. Oh, 5's cancel, and the final answer here is 2. Very simple. That's the only thing that's left up there, so that's it. So this one canceled nicely, and these problems are often designed to do a lot of canceling. This one was very simple at the end. Okay. Next one, all right, example 6. Try this with your neighbor. I won't solve it here, but try it with your neighbor, and I'll simply put the answer here when you're done. If we need to go back over it, we will. But take a minute now, solve that with your neighbor, and compare notes. If you factored this properly, you should have gotten these factors here. And the key thing is seeing that this is 2 perfect squares. So it's x minus 1, x plus 1. This is going to, oops, that's going to cancel. I'm sorry, that's not going to cancel anything. This is going to cancel this one. X plus 2 cancels this one. What's left is x over here times x plus 3 all divided by x plus 1 is what's left on the denominator. There's your final answer. Hope you got that. Okay, now looking at page 556 here, we want to take a look at a division problem, and there's really just one added step to a division, to make a division problem into these multiplication problems that we've been solving. Notice these have all been multiplication, multiplication, multiplication. Okay, so these are easier to do because you can cross multiply. Explain to your neighbor what that step is, then write it out on your note sheet as stated on the note sheet there. Okay, hopefully that step you understood is just the flipping and then multiplying. So all we've got to do here is take this 4x over 2x minus 6. I can still factor that x minus 3 here, and then multiply the reciprocal of this. So the x is going to go on the bottom, was on the top, now it's on the bottom. Okay. This is factorable, I believe. This is going to be, once again, our good old friend x minus 3x plus 1. Right, I think we've used that several times here, so you should be familiar with that by now. And now I can start canceling. First of all, the 4 and the 2 I could cancel before I even flipped and multiplied. Leave a 2 up there, right? 2 goes into 4 2 times. Leave that 2 there. X's cancel, so those are gone. X minus 3 cancels, those are gone. Really, it's going to be 2 times x plus 1. It really is that simple, unless I'm missing something there. Okay. So that's how quickly that works if the problem works out nicely. There's your final answer for that one. But you've got to flip this and then start factoring and canceling. Okay, or you could factor first and then flip it. It doesn't matter. All right, so here's another one. Try this one with your neighbor, and we'll come back in about a minute or two. And so try that with your neighbor. Actually, take 3 or 4 minutes to solve that. First factor, then flip and multiply, or you can flip and then factor. Okay, if you factored these and did the flip and then multiply, okay, notice that this whole polynomial here, x squared plus 9x plus 18, showed up on top, because when I flip it, it goes from the bottom of this fraction here to the top up here. And when I factor this, I get x plus 6, x plus 3. When I take this one down to the bottom, way down here, okay, because I flipped it, now it's on the bottom, I can factor out 8x squared from both terms, and that leaves me with an x here and a 3 here, because 8x squared times 3 would give me 24x squared. 8x squared times x would give me an 8x cubed. I hope you see that. In similar fashion, I can take a 2x squared out of each of these and leave me with x minus 6. 2x squared times x is 2x cubed. 2x squared times minus 6 is minus 12x squared. There you go, and this factors into these two. Now there's some nice easy canceling that can happen, right? These cancel on this side, don't even have to go across. Okay, and these cancel, don't even have to go across. X squared cancels x squared, 2 cancels into 8, leaving me a 4 there. So really what's left is this. I have an x plus 6 on top, right? This one. I have an x plus 2 on the bottom with a 4 out in front, because that 4 never went away. So there's my simplified final answer, just like that. So this big audacious problem up here with factoring, if you know your factoring and do it well, you can do this pretty easily. The problem becomes quite a bit simpler if you see that factoring. Okay, last couple ones. Here we go, almost done. Home stretch here. With these problems here, notice there's no factoring to be done, but you got to be good with exponents, got to be good with your constants. Okay, so I would simply rewrite this one or work across the top. Okay, can't work across the top yet, actually. I have to multiply, flip and multiply. So 5 goes on top, 36xy goes on the bottom now, or 36xy squared. And now I can start canceling. Now, how do you do this? Well, 48 is, I think, 4 times 12, right? So that's 4 times 12. This is 3 times 12. I'm going to be left with 4/3 for these two. See that? 4 up there and a 3 down here. This is going to give me a y cubed on the bottom. So I've got a y to the first times a y squared. Actually, I'm going to have an x there too. Xy cubed. I've now simplified the whole bottom. I got my y's taken care of. I got my x. I got my 3. They're all there. On top, I get a 4. I'm going to get an x squared. Oh, and don't forget that 5. So this is really 20 over 3 is my numbers. 5 times 4 is 20. 3 stays on the bottom. X squared divided by x leaves me with an x to the first on top, right? And a y cubed on the bottom. My writing's a little bit messy here, but that's how this one is going to work out. Okay, any questions about that? This one up at the top here. Okay, take a minute to work this with your partner again. I'll switch colors so it's not confusing, but basically we'll come back to this in a moment. Take 2 minutes to work that one out with your partner. Okay, take a look at these here. Now, the key to this is, number one, you got to flip and multiply. So this x plus 1 came to the top. This 3x went to the bottom over here. I hope that's clear. The other piece is perfect square minus a perfect square here. You've got to see that's x plus 1 over x minus 1, because this now allows me to cancel those. I can cancel this x for one of these two x's up here, and all that's left is going to be an x on top and this 3 and the x minus 1 on the bottom. Okay, hope that is apparent to you. All right. I think these are the last two. All right. So they're complicated, but very doable. And I'd rather do more examples rather than fewer. All right. So this is the same as, and I'm just going to, for simplicity's sake, write this thing up here in flipped fashion. So the bottom comes to the top, 3x cubed y. The top of this whole fraction down here is now on the bottom up here, 54y cubed. All right, so now let's forget about this, and now I'm just looking at this problem here. Right, I've taken the bottom, flipped it up, and multiplied. So I've got several things I can do here, right? I don't know what 144 divided by 4 is, but if I do the math, it turns out to be 38. Right, so I'm going to have a 38 over here with an xy on the bottom. Let me write that better. 38 over xy. That's this whole thing simplified, right? Because 4 goes into that, 3 times 38, so there we go. Now I've got to multiply 3 times 54. Well, that's divisible by 3 too. I think that's 18 times 3. So this would be 1 over 18. So I'm just going to leave the 1 out and put an 18 down here. Okay, so divide by 3 and I get a 1. Divide by 3 here and I get 18. So there's a 1/18th, the same as 3/54ths. I hope you see that. Okay, 1 over 18. Now I've got, I'll take that 1 away. Now I've got x cubed y over y cubed. Now I can simplify. I don't know how you guys would prefer to do this, but I can cancel a couple y's, right? I'm going to have y to the first over y to the fourth on the bottom. So I'm going to leave, actually I can just cancel these if that makes it easier for you. I can cancel this x and reduce this to an x squared up here, right? And so now what I've really got here is I've got 38 over 18. Oh, that's 19 over 9 if I cut them both in half. X squared on top, y cubed on the bottom. I think that's what I'm going to end up with. 19x squared over y cubed. I hope you saw this last step. I divided these each by 2. 38 divided by 2 is 19. 18 divided by 2 is 9. So there's my x squared. It was x cubed divided by x. And there's my final answer. Okay, last one. Again, moving this up to the top. I'm just going to take the bottom of the bottom and make it the top. 9xy to the 7th divided by 8x squared. So now I can forget about all this. Okay, let's do some math here. Canceling. That's going to give me a 2. 3 canceled with a 9 is going to give me a 3. So right off the bat, I've got some easy things going for me. It looks like 2 times 3 is going to be 6 on top and nothing on the bottom. Right? Now I've got an x there and an x there, so I'll give me an x squared on top, right? There's a 1 there for x, there's a 1 there for x. Y to the first times y to the 7th will give me y to the 8th. I've just worked the entire top. Let's write that better. And now down here, I'm going to have x to the 5th times x squared for x to the 7th. Or I could have canceled x squareds. Okay, either way, missed opportunity. I'll go back and do that. Now I just got to simplify my exponents. X to the 2nd over x to the 7th will give me 6 over x to the 5th, right? 2 minus 7 is minus 5, but I got to write it in the bottom as a plus 5. Or 7 minus 2, if I bring the 2 down here, it becomes a minus 2. X to the 7 minus 2 is next to the 5th. I hope you see that. Y to the 8th divided by y to the 5th is going to give me y to the 8 minus 5 on top, which is y to the 3rd. Okay, so my final answer should be 6y to the 3rd over x to the 5th. I hope you see that. Okay, that is our last example. Hope these things helped you. Okay, what you guys need to do is these ones, 27 through 45 odds on page 558. And don't forget that when you see perfect cubes, you can always use that formula way back from our previous chapter on page 345. The sum of cubes and the difference of cubes, right? Difference of cubes would simply be this. So don't forget to look at page 345 if you get cubes that need to be factored. Okay, that's the stuff for this unit. This is not easy stuff. I would suggest you get started and get very, very focused on this and stay focused. Check answers because the odds are given to you so you can check them in the back of the book. Hope that helps you.